Welcome, one and all, to the Improvement Services Committee meeting for Wednesday, March 9th, 2016. We are joined here. Oh, that was my fault. Thank you, Mr. Grenier. We are joined here for the Improvement Service Committee meeting for Wednesday, March 9th, 2016, with members Alderman Joe Moore, Alderman Dave Denning, Alderman Jerry Wisbisky, myself, Brian Danziger, as well as staff, including Director Steve Grenier, the original owner of Excalibur. Item number 1, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on February 24th, 2016.
I've got a comment on the minutes.
Yes.
Director Grenier, that note that I gave you, were you at council, were you able to take a look at the first item, how it was adjusted at committee?
If you can just pass these down.
By all means.
I have a comment to make over handing those out. I used to live with the people who built the Excalibur. They lived in an apartment building. We used to bring their babies home, we used to take them for rides.
What happened at the last meeting was we did correct the minutes from January 27th, and if you look in the discussion, we correctly identified that Alderman Danziger and Alderman Wisbisky were excused, but through a scrivener's error, when we took the motion, Alderman Danziger was inadvertently replaced with Alderman Moore, so that should actually read Alderman Danziger and Alderman Wisbisky in the motion as well. So I spoke with Law Department, and they said just to bring that back to you and explain that was a scrivener's error, and we've corrected that
Thank
in
you.
the official minutes.
All right, so we have a motion on item 1. Do
amended.
you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item 2, approval of the agenda. If I may, I would like to move item 4 immediately after the approval of the agenda and then take the rest of the agenda in order.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 4, request by Alderman Stoyer to look at the current docking, slip rental, and other maritime issues on the Fox River and to report out the findings. Staff?
I had a communication with Alderman Stoyer earlier today, and what I identified was, based on his communication, our expectation is that what we would be performing is to prepare, refer to staff to prepare a report on current policies and practices for docking adjacent to city-owned properties along the Fox River. This report will include where transient docking is available, where rental docking could be made available, any amenities such as sewer, water, and electricity that might be available, who, DPW or Parks, is responsible for permitting these activities, and what activities are allowed or prohibited. And we could bring this report back in April.
Top notch. Mr. Stoyer?
Thank you, Chair. One of my constituents, Bill Schumacher, is here. He's a boater, and I've met with him a number of times. I've also, last year, Alderman Nenning and Alderman Tom Duane and I met with him down on at the river, downtown, and just kind of checked a number of elements as far as the boaters go. And you know, we've talked about this quite a bit over the years as far as access, you know, to the water for boaters, overnight stays, just different elements of that aspect of travel. That it goes for downtown events, overnight stays. I think Bill has mentioned that there's many times where he wants to come downtown and maybe stay overnight, and there are not really amenities for that at this time. I don't think he's looking at so much a marine, you know, we're not into the marina business per se. The slips I handed out to you are things that Bill worked on and I've looked at as well. And it's for your perusal. I'm not sure we can set anything up tonight, but I would like us to at least look at some of this and find that, you know, if you look at this list, there's really not an extensive cost to the city at all. So it's more or less logistics, it's more or less looking at means of allowing boaters to come in and utilize any kind of docking facilities that might be there, and also the ability for them to come into the city, spend money, have a good time, that type of thing. We are a port city. We're actually on, you know, connected to the ocean, if you think about it. So I think it's really important that we utilize our waterfront as much as possible for all folks, whether they're hikers on the shoreline or boaters as well. So I don't know, do you want me to go over any of this? You can take a look at it.
Do you have additional copies of that?
I did.
Include that in the minutes then, so.
Right.
Yeah, let me see, let me, is there one?
Mr.
forward?
Isbisky and then Mr. Denning. So, Mr. Stoyer?
Yeah, I think that I will talk. Actually, I don't know if I could borrow one of those
Yeah,
back.
sure.
Sorry.
No,
You
no,
guys
that's
could
all right.
share.
Yeah.
Mr. Isbisky, you had a question, sir?
Yeah,
Yes.
Alderman Storm.
Yes.
The piece of paper we have here, is this something that you generated, basically?
This is something that
This is what you're
Bill,
looking for, or no?
well, this is something that Bill has thought of. These are things that we've talked about over the last couple of years.
Oh, okay.
And Bill, like I said, he preferred not to visit on this if need be, but if need be, we could speak with him. These are things that Alderman Nenning and myself and Alderman Dwayne spoke with him extensively with last year. And nothing, we didn't really follow through as much. I have talked to Director Grenier in the past on some of these things as well. And, you know, there might be points of clarification as far as what we own, what we are,
Yeah, that's awesome.
what we're looking for, are we, is it too strict for folks? Some of these things that are here are just, are points to look at and things to discuss, so. My understanding from Mr. Schumacher is that, you know, this proposal is not to place the city in the marina business, as it says.
Okay.
And there's a couple things that he's stating: no cost to the city, water, electricity, no long stay, no seasonal slip rental, that type of thing. Now, granted, you know, Director Grenier, I've talked to him a little bit too, and, you know, there's always some inherent costs, no matter what. So I guess these are points for discussion. The rationale to open docks for overnight parking to the public, you know, you can see the list there. You know, fishermen and boaters use that. Many of the fishermen and boaters live and pay taxes in the Green Bay area. Local economy, etc. Overnight docking would draw more boaters to regular events, you know, and Green Bay is getting to be quite an event city. So the more events there are, the more possibility that boaters can use Farmers Market, Fridays on the Fox, Light Park concerts, and things like that as well. So I guess one of the questions would be, well, with that being said, you know, the Fox River is not the widest in its width at that point. Would there be some logistical problems? Possibly, but I would like to look at the opportunity that we have as a city to look at our waterfront and say, you know, are we utilizing it as well as we can? I think one thing that Mr. Schumacher brought up is that, you know, you'd have quiet time after 11, because granted, there are always the possibilities that somebody could abuse that privilege. There would be noise, there would be police issues, and granted, that's extra cost. And I would think that, I would like to think that the boating community would self-police themselves as well, that there would be, that's one of those privileges that if it came forward that we would do some of these things, that if they didn't, then that privilege would be taken away. So there's accountability and responsibility from the boating community as well. So that's it. I just kind of wanted to bring this forward. It's something that we've talked about for the last couple of years, my constituent and I, along with Alderman Nenning and Alderman Tom Dwayne. And we just would like to open up that discussion. And I know, like I said, I have talked to Steve Bernier on this a little bit as well in the past. So.
Okay. This all sounds like really good stuff, and I remember going through this quite a bit when I used to boat quite a bit. And,
Yeah.
the first question I have, looking right off the top, is do you have any ideas who would be in charge of this? Are you relaying this on DPW to become the responsible party to police this, enforce this, set this up, or is it just kind of just get the discussion going, basically?
I would say to really get the discussion going. Granted,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think there's any way we can make any kind of decision on any of this now. We need to kind of mull this over. I really think that we need to start looking at the potential that the boating public has for this city.
Okay.
Economically, you know, I mean, it's an economic benefit, I believe, to the community.
Mhm.
And we're talking about, you know, in years past, we turned our backs to the river, you know,
Yeah.
back in the 40s and 50s. Now we're turning toward the river. And with downtown development, with the walks that we have, the trails that we have, you know, it's just very important, I think, that this is another element that we incorporate into our city.
Okay.
So,
With the fact that McDonald's facility is too far towards the
Well-
entrance or out of the downtown area, I would imagine.
well, there's some of
I
that.
can feel what he's talking, yeah, okay.
Well, let's,
And I would like, if Bill wouldn't mind, I would like him to, he's a boater, so he brings up a lot of great issues. He's been doing this for decades, so
Yes, he has.
he doesn't want to speak to the
I
matter.
remember
would-
talking to him
Oh,
almost
yeah,
a decade ago.
I would entertain that he could come up and just throw a couple other items your way,
Okay.
just
All right.
for discussion.
floor.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sir, if
Sorry,
you'd like to
Bill.
come up, just
I
state your
pulled
name,
that one.
address, and any comments you'd like to share with us, sir.
Thank you for listening to me. Yes, we talked several years ago.
Oh my God, that's almost 10 years ago.
Oh, yes, I'm still boating, and I will be till they bury me.
You ought to try golfing sometime, that's what
My
got me
wife
out-
is a golfer.
That's what got me out of boating.
Oh.
Could we get
I've
your-
talked to Steve
Yeah,
a couple
could you
times over the
name
Full
phone.
name and
Name and
address,
address.
sir?
Pardon me?
We need your full name and address,
Oh,
sir.
Bill Schumacher,
You bet, thank you.
312 Conover Drive.
Thanks.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Right now, as it stands, the ordinance is, if we, my wife and I, our guests, come into Thursday night or Friday night, we cannot stay at that dock overnight. We have to leave, okay? My proposal is that we change the ordinance so that boaters can stay there overnight. No amenities, no water, no electricity, nothing. I don't want to go put you back in the marina business like we talked about before, and I understand that was a good move on your part
Yeah.
when we took the Holiday Inn out. You know, a couple of reasons for wanting this is my wife and I come in the city, go and have dinner, walk down, you know, to a couple of refreshment stops. And like, we keep a boat out the Swamico River, and I can run the river at night and the bay at night, it doesn't bother me. But we would just like to stay downtown. If we go out to South Bay, okay, there's this cost, private business, understand that. If I was gonna stay more than one night, or anybody in their right mind would go to South Bay because of the amenities.
Okay.
But we stay at South Bay, there's no way to get back into the city. The closest docks are the boatyard, okay, they're on the west shore. You can't get to anything. Fridays on the Fox, Thursdays at Lights Park. And the other side of the bridge, those are all privately owned for the apartment buildings, so you can't stay there. And obviously, I'm big enough, my boat is, that I can anchor out of the turning basin, I know where that is. But that's not a safe alternative. We run a 31-foot boat, and I wouldn't sleep on there anchored because your anchor drags, and you don't know what's coming in. So all I'm saying is, and this has happened, people from the Green Bay Boat Club were going down there, they were staying overnight. That gave me the idea. Well, lo and behold, talking to some of those people, some boater made problems with the loud music. Made a complaint, so then the ordinance was then being enforced. Last time I talked to them, they were gonna try it again. They didn't wanna come before you guys and stir up a can of worms.
Well, you just didn't want us to know about it, is what you really.
That's what I'm saying. Where me, I'm in a different position. If I wake up at 3 in the morning, I've gotta run out to Swamico River. So I don't want to have to do that. And I can't see where my proposal that I turned into you is gonna cost you a cent, other than the signage. Because I'm not suggesting any sewer, water, electricity, nothing. I just want a safe place to stay. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Bill, do I remember that we talked about this one time that, you know, that you and others wouldn't mind a small fee if there was a drop box or something like a
I don't have a problem with it.
registration?
But there we go back to into the enforcement of it. Who collects it?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing here is saying, I make a phone call to the Green Bay Police Department. I give them my hull number or registration numbers. If there's an issue, they send an officer. They know I'm there. They can run DNR numbers. They know who belongs to the boat.
Anything else, sir?
No, that's good. Well, I think we need to take a look at it, and, probably the sooner the better, because,
Season is coming up.
Voting season is coming up.
I was going to ask you, do you have any questions for petitioner,
Just
sir?
one question.
Yes.
The third section of your document here, you indicate Light Park Dock and City Center.
Okay, Light Park for Thursday nights.
Yeah, I know we're like,
Okay, excuse me.
are you,
I would like to see it at both docks.
but you're specifically talking about the old city center, not city deck.
No, I'm talking city deck,
Ah,
You're talking city
between the
deck?
two bridges.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, that changes things considerably.
yeah, that probably is not doable.
No, city deck, we can't. We're prohibited based on the grant funding that we accepted. If we're willing to give back the $12 million in grant funding, then we can allow overnight stays, otherwise we have to remain transient.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the definition of transient?
Anything overnight. Everything not overnight. Transient docking is
Transients is come and
temporary.
go, come and go, come and
Yep,
go.
exactly. It can't be overnight
Must be a
stay.
time limit on it, probably.
Well, if it's a grant, it came out of federal government, my money went there too.
True, but unfortunately, from a budgeting perspective, we can't use that argument.
So
I
that's
think we
actually
can look
in
at,
writing?
that's how the limitations of the grants there. That's why Mr. Grenier brought that up. I actually thought you meant the old city center too, by the old Holiday Inn, so that's,
Well,
thought that
there's
was
no, I'm not gonna tie up to those overnight, you'd beat your boat to pieces.
again, that's why I made that presumption, because again, we know the limitations in city deck. Light Park has the option.
Correct.
Because that wasn't any funding related to that.
I don't know that.
Okay, we'll confirm
There
that.
may or may not be some of the other issues that we have, and we'll get into this when we do the report, but some of the other issues that we have relative to Light Park and City Deck, both of those amenities are considered to be parks. So you have to follow the park ordinances.
Correct,
And
correct.
park ordinances require that you have to be out of the park by a certain time.
Yeah, for example, like, I know we had to go around that for tall ships because that wasn't considered overnight docking, that was special events docking. And that's how we were able to get away from that, from a grant perspective, just FYI.
Yeah.
Not making me happy.
I'm not trying to upset you, sir. I'm really trying to espouse the reality of just some of the constraints that we're dealing with. But we definitely can explore it, though. And if there are ways that we can still accommodate some sort of overnight boat access, it may not necessarily be at those specific places. It sounds like you're just more interested in something that's downtown.
We enjoy coming down Friday nights,
That's what I'm saying. So
Thursday
it-
nights,
No, no.
sometimes we come on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the day as much as it is just trying to accommodate the ability to overnight. So if there are other places along that corridor that still is relatively downtown, I'm just saying that might be an option for us, is just to investigate some alternative spots.
See,
That's all.
originally, when, if I might continue, might be taking too much of your time, but last time you and I talked, you took out the Holiday Inn dock, which I understand,
Yep,
but then they left 2 docks in
yeah.
for people, what I'm talking about. What'd you guys do with those? They're gone. They never were put in after the first year.
They're in storage because they're not ADA compliant.
Neither's my boat.
And we did come back to committee the following year, and
Yeah.
committee and council told us not to put anything in any longer because of the issues that we were having trying to police it. What I can tell you, and again, we'll get into this with the report, there is a possibility that the old city center may come back and be operated by the owners of the Hampton Inn. In addition to being hoteliers, they actually are marina operators in downstate Michigan.
Okay, from the perspective of my end, that I can only do business with them. I can't pull in there and go down to Fridays on the Fox, can't go across the Titletown.
I think, though, that from what I've gathered, the marina isn't necessarily tied to the hotel stay. So
Correct.
the marina is its own access. So if you wanted to rent or to spend on an overnight slip spot, that, again, is independent of any sort of hotel.
Correct.
Okay, I can afford it. Well, we could stand up and argue all night.
We're not arguing, we're just really
I'm
looking at
just
the
asking
options
to,
in that,
you know, we
yeah.
got this nice dock down there, and now we're limited to what we can do with it.
Well, we're trying to,
No,
I know.
yeah,
No, he's correct.
Yeah.
We are limited to what we can do, and it was because of
That's what I'm
the
getting.
conditions tied to the
Correct.
grants that we accepted.
correct.
The docking you're recommending to him is he's not interested in it, and I don't blame him. You know, he doesn't want to dock there.
Well, we'll look at alternatives, we'll wait for the report, obviously, and see what we have as possibilities, so.
To answer, to go along with what you just said, no, I really don't,
No.
if Holiday Inn comes back,
Yeah,
because there's no amenities there,
no,
just like we had before, the Holiday Inn.
yeah. It's not really a nice place to dock. It's rough.
There are amenities there.
Yeah, there was electricity and.
Oh, absolutely.
Electricity, yeah.
Yeah.
You've never stayed down there, though, have you? That's a risky place to stay.
Yes.
There are lots of vandalism down there.
Mhm.
Little otters climbing up on swim platforms. Little otters eating rubber boots out of elk drains.
Yeah, the ninja otters, I know.
In fact, they had one boat stolen down there.
Wrong way, a long way. Used to live there all summer.
I really?
Again, though, I mean,
Wrong way, a long way?
Oh, God, yes.
to kind of get us back on
It
track.
was
though-
interesting down there.
You
let's
lived
put it
there all
that way.
summer.
Yeah, to get us a little bit back on track, though, I think that's
Yep.
what we're trying to do, though, is we'll generate a report, identify what some of the options are. We're not trying to disregard what you're looking for, it's just a matter of we're trying to operate within the constraints that we have, that's all it is.
I got an idea. Why don't you talk South Bay into providing a jitney or a shuttle to downtown? It might be a business, but I don't know how many people they want to do that. But you know something? What you're asking for is very appealing to me as an ex-boater. I thought, boy, wouldn't that be cool?
You know, that would be something for South Bay,
Yeah.
but the liability issues
Oh,
of
yeah.
it.
Mhm.
You know, we've had offers to go, and I'm honest with you, go up on Egg Harbor, and my wife is a golfer.
Yeah.
We can throw the clubs in the car,
Yep.
and they've offered to come down, pick her up,
Yeah.
take her up to the course. So our O'Connell's done the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, get people down from those areas. We go to O'Connell, we go to, get people down here.
And then a ray of hope. I was in a meeting yesterday where they're talking about that new baseball field and that new operation down underneath the Mason Street Bridge, basically. They were talking about if they're gonna have boat slips there, but I don't think that'd be clean. Interesting.
Mr. Story, you had something, sir.
I lost my trainer, sorry.
That's all right.
I think, yeah, I did, sorry. It'll come back to me.
Okay, fair enough, sir. Well,
Make a motion to return to bring to order?
Yeah,
or-
okay.
If you'd like to
Second.
talk, we'd be very happy to sit across the desk from you. But I do get growly, I warn you. Right,
trust me.
Mr. Whiskey?
I
And
think-
you don't know who you're talking
I
to
think
though
Mr.
here.
Gutierrez-
This guy is the master at that.
I watch you guys on TV.
I'd like
quite
to
a
see
bit.
that.
Like a koala threatening a grizzly. All right, well, we'll close the floor first. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Story, you can speak, obviously.
All right, well, thanks again. And I think Bill brings up a good point, and I used to work with folks that voted quite a bit. In fact, my ex-boss, Dale Preston, you may have remembered him. They always talked about going up to Fish Creek or Egg Harbor or up to Menominee or to Oconto. And it was just like, well, why? Well, because of some of these reasons that were brought up. You know, so, you know, I know there's logistical issues with all of this and what have you, but I really think that if we put our heads together on this, I think we could come up with some good alternatives. So, it's another faction, another group of people that could be utilizing our city. So I really think that we need to keep our minds open and try to work out sometimes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Story.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion?
Refer the staff to the report back
Second.
to us.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for the information and the discussion. Item 3, request by Alderman Tom Duane that the City Council support a resolution requesting that the Wisconsin Assembly and Senate restore local rights for municipalities to be the final government body to determine where and if cell towers are to be placed within city limits. Mr. Wisbiski.
Excuse me, I was in the impression that resolutions from legal go to the
Attorney's Office?
protection and welfare. That does not come
I
here.
understood that the Protection and Welfare made a recommendation adopt a resolution that's being forwarded to the council.
I don't know the disposition, but I do know this did go before Protection and Welfare on Monday night.
But-
I thought this was a duel where he sent it to two
He did.
committees.
We can receive and place this
Okay.
on file.
Go ahead,
I
Mr.
think
Weir,
that
if you'd like
motion-
to enlighten us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we did handle this at committee. We approved the resolution unanimously, just
Okay.
asking that the city get its.
So we should vote against the resolution. Okay.
See who reads their packets?
See who reads the packets.
Which committee?
Well, let's make a deal on it.
I'm kidding.
Let's make a deal on that other deal.
All right, Mr. Moore, you were making a motion?
I made the motion just to receive and place on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Fair enough. Item 5, request by Alderman Zima on behalf of the residents of Green Bay that the Public Works Department make a comprehensive study of the stormwater sewer system in Green Bay, and further that the department provide for council consideration an estimate of the cost of updating our sewer system to resolve the ongoing water problems that continue to plague numerous neighborhoods. Also referred to our advisory committee. Referred back from March 1, 2016 council meeting. Mr. Moore.
Can we, now I know that Alderman Zimmer requested that we table this, but can we send out a request for quotes to see what the cost of a consultant would be on this project? Or do we-
I can't take any action with anything.
Yeah,
We
we'd
wouldn't be
only
able to take
doing
action, but we could
our-
come back with quotes, and that might save us a couple weeks.
Well, possibly.
It depends though on if this changes what we were
Well,
asking.
what we did, considering the actions we've taken at the last two meetings.
Based off of Matt's report.
The action that we took at the February 24th meeting was to receive and place on file the report itself,
Mm-hmm.
and then authorize staff to proceed with actions to implement the recommendations, which included
In the report, yes.
going out for those engineering studies.
In the 9 drainage
Correct.
basins.
Correct,
And then
the
it was
critical
that.
areas.
That action was halted and was
Referred back.
referred back. So-
With the original wording, actually.
Right, so technically, right now, my interpretation would be, we are not authorized to even go out and start implementation in those 9 basins because this entire action was referred
Yeah,
back.
we're not allowed to take action, but I think what Mr. Moore is saying is we are allowed, though, to investigate possible contractors or consultants that we know would help us with the overall study and implementation of whatever actions.
If we requested an RFP just based after Mr. Heckenlabel's report, we requested an RFP based off of that.
Off the
at least-
recommendations, sure.
At least then we would say, consultants, the lowest bid consultant we got was this. Now do we want to move forward and hire the consultant, start taking action on the agenda item?
My interpretation.
Is that gonna have to be a
we cannot do
separate-
that.
I think it might be a
communication
separate
altogether.
communication. That might have to be.
I don't know that we can do that because that was the
4 weeks total.
which will
So
lead to 6.
It's counterproductive.
I
I don't get it.
No,
Which is
Mr.
why I
Sto-
was just looking to try to take
Yes.
some type of action
That's-
I
to
mean-
get the ball rolling in
That's why we're
some
looking at
way,
this.
but
I mean, you're
now that it's been
preaching to the choir
explained
here. I
that
mean,
that's
we-
not,
I think a lot of the
really
council
the
members
agenda item.
looked at those 9 areas and said, yes, that is an area that we need to look at. We need to look at these areas. And I don't think there's one specifically in my district. That doesn't bother me. I think it's important that we look at this. So I thought that we came forward very strongly at our last INS meeting. I wasn't at the previous, I might have been at the previous.
Yeah, you were.
but- And we talked about that at length. So I don't understand, you know, Mr. Zima said he was gonna be at this meeting.
he couldn't stay.
Okay.
And if I may, we had this same discussion, you remember, at the council meeting last week. And I thought you, Mr. Nenning, and I put forward a pretty good reason and rationale as to why we should move forward with the actions that we have. And I applaud Mr. Grenier for being very concise and, I would say, descriptive on what actions they would take. So I think, I agree with you, I think we were pretty clear as to what we could do now. And we have a path for now. I, however, still as chair, want to honor the wishes of the person who's making this petition. And even though, in a weird sort of way, it seems slightly counterproductive to what the request actually is, I'm going to honor that because that's the request.
okay, motion to table.
Second.
And I hope the committee and I hope Mr. Stoyer understands. I mean, if it was any of you guys asking me to table it, I'd do the same thing.
I would do the same thing. too.
So,
All right.
I just got out of that.
I just had to say my piece.
no, I appreciate that.
Just point of clarification.
For
Are
2
you
meetings.
asking to hold, or are you asking to table?
Hold, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Hold.
table means infinite.
Correct, somebody would have to take action to pull it off the
Yes,
table. to
yes.
even
Be all
discuss
over
it.
to the next meeting, right?
No, tabling it means it's in limbo
limbo,
until
yeah.
somebody
Floating
actually
out there
says,
somewhere.
I'd like to pull from the table the item of yada yada. Thank you, Mr. Grenier. I'm to hold for 2 meetings then.
For 2 meetings?
Why?
Mr. Grenier's gone at the next
I
one.
will not be here at the next INS meeting.
I would greatly prefer
And
his counsel here too.
I think as much as the assistant director has a handle on this, for continuity's sake, I really think that I ought to be involved in this discussion.
Also, I'll be gone too, so.
Is there enough, are there enough issues of concern here that we couldn't discuss it on the floor of the council and just get on with it?
Well, what about this? How about we, to honor his request, we hold, but then let Mr. Zimba know that holding it equals a 4-week, actually, I apologize, a 6-week wait on any action being taken. So I'm willing to pull this at the next meeting and state, look, I'd really like us to move forward with what Mr. Stoyer is saying, some action that I thought we vetted quite well at the last meeting. Mr. Moore can add in the desire to request a consultant. Mr. Netting, you and I can continue to emphasize that the report gave some definitive action. And if at that point, though, too, Mr. Zima still wants us to hold this and convinces the council to hold this, then that's on us and that's on him. And again, I'm not trying to make this
No,
a
not at
House
all.
of Cards episode. I'm just merely saying that I want to honor his wishes, but I think we can still show that there is a reason to move forward. Does that make sense to everybody? I see a lot of this. So either everybody's working on their goatee or everybody doesn't like this.
Yeah,
So.
go like-
Well, I've got 4 areas on that report that touch on my district, so I'm just getting kind of tired of waiting. It's
How
been
about-
on like, what, 5 out of the last 8 agendas it'll end up being?
I know.
So that's just where I'd
How
like
about-
to see
Mr. Nenning,
action.
please.
That's fine.
How about referring the recommendation back to the council? And if Mr. Zimmer wants it held for another meeting or wants to discuss it there,
You can send it back.
No,
we can
no.
do it.
I would prefer we do, and Mr. Nenning, I know what you're trying to do, I appreciate that. I think holding it though, again, is more respectful of the request. That's all, but we can still pull it though, and bring up these issues.
Well, I don't know if we can,
Sure we
if
can.
we can pull it if we've held it.
No, I don't think you can.
Yeah, we can actually,
That
we
doesn't-
can. You can pull something that's being held and merely state, I think it's appropriate to take action now. That's well within the right of Robert.
Okay.
I don't know.
And
I'd
in
get
4
my-
weeks, we'll have a
I'd
different
get my
committee
vote
and a different council.
Yeah.
And
So let's
that's
keep
an
that in mind
argument,
as well.
that's an argument for why we should possibly move forward today.
if there were serious issues about this, but I didn't really hear any serious issues. You know, in Mr. Zimmer's remarks at the council, he talked about, well, you know, can't we upsize one of the lift stations and spend $100,000 to do that and, you know, and solve the problem? Well, it isn't that simple. I mean, but that was the only, to me, that was the only comment I really heard was, you know.
I mean, there was talk about, you know, the flooding, and of course, Director Grenier, you were talking about ponding, and I mean, there was different descriptions of
Yeah.
the issues that happen with these, especially with these
Locations.
events, with these rainfalls. I think that was one of the big things that we're talking about. I kind of go back to what Alderman Wisbicki has said in the past, you know, that you try not to do your committee work at council, but I agree with Alderman Moore. I mean, this is an important situation, and I think the longer we delay on it, the worse it'll be. So,
Mr. Wisbicki?
I would like to see something move forward.
Could Alderman Moore trump the decision based on the fact that he's already sitting there and saying he's got 4 or 5 places?
Well, that really doesn't work.
But
like
he
that. I
didn't,
mean,
he didn't put in
He
the
didn't put in the
request.
request, that's the challenge. I'm
Oh,
trying to
okay.
honor the
But
person.
one
who's
thing
made
I
the-
would like to bring up is you're sitting here discussing something that's multi-million dollars and it's not gonna happen
20 years,
overnight
yeah.
anyway, and years. I mean, so now how important is it from following the man's wishes? He was just here, leaning over the counter, he says,
Or
hold this,
phases.
I
We
gotta
talked
go.
about phase 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a number of
He
things.
says, I gotta go, I'm sorry, but he says, hold it over for us.
Mr. Moore?
I'm gonna keep my motion to hold. I think we should vote on that and take care of the issue. At the next council meeting, I do believe I will make a communication to send out an RFP to hire a consultant.
Top notch. Do you
And
still?
then that will show up in 2 weeks while you're not here, but we can make that decision then in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, this item comes up.
At least we're on the
I
move.
don't know, I'm still interested, I'm still motivated to pull it next week. That's just
Perfectly
me.
fine, perfectly fine. I'll make the communication at council regardless.
Top notch. All right, we have a motion to hold. Do we have a second?
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Nenning, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That didn't work out like you wanted, but
No.
you kind of see where I'm coming from, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Number 6, review and approval of the 2015 annual stormwater project. Staff?
For those of you who've been on the committee or been with us for a while, you know that on an annual basis, we have to submit a report to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources discussing our MS4 permit, which is our stormwater discharge permit. Copy of that report.
I've read that.
is Sitting here.
Should be read into the record.
Page 1.
You already just said, he says,
Alderman Weary
I read that.
Alderman Weary has suggested we read the report into the record, and I would respectfully ask that not happen.
Suggestion.
The highlights are our stormwater technician, Pam Freeman, has completed the 6th year of our ongoing outfall screening and inspection of all scheduled outfalls. There were no significant detections identified during the second rotation of field screening. Upon completion of the field screening and inspection, the GIS mapping has been updated. The city continues to use, we have a relatively new curb head for our inlets. Most of our inlets come from Neenah Foundry, and Neenah came out with what they refer to as the Enviro-Friendly. Previously, we had stickers that we would
Oh, yeah,
affix
that's right.
that indicate that these drain to surface waters. The new Enviro curbs actually have that
Printed
cast
in
right
there.
in.
Sure.
Goodness.
It's part of the casting process.
They make
We've
great
been u-
frisbees.
They did. They were
We've been
sticky,
using
too.
the Enviro curbs, Enviro curb heads for inlets for the last several years, and we continue to place inlet markers where we don't have them. We had a summer student intern that did a significant amount, approximately 3,000 erosion control inspections last year due to notice of noncompliance that the city received in the spring of 2015. As part of the ongoing work in 16 and beyond, we actually have, as part of the budget, we're doing, we're authorized to complete a reorganization in our utility section, and we will be hiring an erosion control specialist. That's a full-time position that will go through the utility section. 2015 city staff and City of Green Bay assisted and partnered with the MacArthur Heights Neighborhood Association and Sanimax with their spring cleanup of Beaver Dam Creek. City staff participated in a one-day erosion control session presented by the Northeast Wisconsin Stormwater Consortium personnel in October. We complete biannual inspections of all stormwater quality ponds to look for significant deficiencies such as plugged outfalls, excessive animal burrows, and whether there's any notable decrease in life expectancy of the pond. The ponds are of such an age that to date we have not yet completed bathymetric surveys to determine how much sediment accumulation is in the bottom, or the need to dredge or remove that excess sediment. But we do perform garbage and debris cleanup from around the facilities on an as-needed basis and cut some of the vegetation back as needed. We have employed the services of Kurt Schrader for the last several years to trap and reduce the muskrat population at 19 of our stormwater facilities. Last year, he was successful in trapping out 85 animals, which would have caused significant damage to the ponds. In 2015, we completed the permeable pavement at Bay Beach as a project and installed a biofilter system at Perkins Park. And currently, we have the following projects either under design or out for bid. The Mossy Oak Stormwater Facility and Ravine Restoration on the east side. We are designing a pond near the location of Superior Road and Sitka. That'll be a regional facility that will support. At council last week, we had a third reading for what we refer to as Bradley Estates on the corner of Sitka and Ontario, and we had that was a first reading. That was the part of Gilbert Drive that we pushed through to Ontario Road, so that was ordinance first reading. And we had a third reading for Superior Heights, which is west of the Dan Schmidt property on the north side of Sitka Road. This pond will service those plus the former Delers property on the southeast corner of Sitka and Superior. So that pond is currently under design and will be going out for bid very soon. One of the items that was in the report, the stormwater report that we actually had started before things got to this point, is we have a consultant engaged to look at the Elizabeth Street stormwater basin for completing a hydraulics and hydrology analysis for the potential upsizing of the sewers and any necessary lift stations that may be needed, and some other citywide high water concerns. We did have another successful year of street sweeping and fall leaf collection, and in speaking with Assistant City Engineer Heckenleibel, there appears to be some motion with the Department of Natural Resources that we may be getting some credit against our stormwater report in the future for leaf collection activities. Currently, we get no credit for that at all, but DNR is moving forward towards at least providing us with some credit towards our MS4 program.
They must have seen your video.
So is
That
this?
is a really cool video.
It is. This is still an approval though, right? We have to move to approve because it's a
What we would
review.
be requesting is approval of the report, authorization to sign and submit to DNR.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Well done, staff. Item number 7, review and award the contract to Parks Project 1 Tech 16, Joanne Stadium Lighting. Staff, this one's an interesting one.
Yeah, this one is going to be informational only. We received one bid and it was significantly higher than the budgeted amount. The project is not, has been recommended by Parks Department not to be awarded. Project scope will be revisited, modified, and the project will be rebid for fall construction. Major item that will be revised is the project schedule. So we recommend that we receive and place on file a report of the bidding process.
Oh, so this isn't a
Second.
okay, so this isn't a refer back to staff. Got it. So we have a motion and a second, receive and place on file. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item 8, application for concrete sidewalk builders licenses by the following. A, Holtker Brothers, Inc. B, Baton Concrete LLC. C, Fisher Ullman Construction, Inc. D, R.G. Hendrickson Son Construction, Inc. E, Jim Fisher, Inc. F, In the Countryside Concrete. Staff?
All applicants have held sidewalk builder license in the past, and we recommend approval.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 9, applications for tree and brush trimmer licenses by the following. A, Holtker Brothers, Inc. B, J&D Services. C, Castro Tree and Stump Removal. Staff?
All applicants have held tree and brush trimmer licenses in the past, and would recommend.
Motion
approval.
approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 10, application for an underground sprinkler system license by Yesterday's Trees LLC. Sounds like they might have been seedy at some point.
I would think that must have been pretty dry if the trees are gone.
Staff, go ahead.
Yesterday's Trees has not held an underground sprinkler license in the past. However, they are a successful tree and brush trimmer service provider within the city. The process of installing underground sprinkler systems involves hiring a licensed plumber to install the necessary backflow preventer. If there's work within the right-of-way, the property owner or contractor have to enter into a hold harmless agreement with the city. There are a number of checks and balances in place, and given the fact that they have been a successful tree and brush trimmer in the past, we do recommend giving them the opportunity to get this brush, or underground sprinkler system license.
All right.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, with motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 11, Director's Report.
Director's report is going to be brief, one item. Just a reminder that during the week of March 14th through 18th,
Yes.
we will have one of our 4 overflow trash collection periods. During that same week, we have one of our 2 annual curbside bulk collections. Again, that is next week, March 14th through the 18th. Items not collected, no construction, remodeling, or demo waste, no electronics, no appliances, and no move-outs. If those are left at the curb, they will be charged. Just something to be aware of. It's only Wednesday, and we have already made 14 bulk collections in Monday routes citywide because people are placing items to the curb this week when they were given the handouts at the beginning of the year attached to their carts. We took out full-page ads in the newspaper last week.
TV
We've
stations
been on
reporting it,
TV.
yeah.
We have been promoting this and telling people it's next week, and people are placing things out to the curb this week, okay? The committee has given my office the authority to take a look at early setouts and judge on those. I will tell you, anyone who gets a charge for early set out for bulk or overflow during this week, I will not rescind those. We may wind up with them coming here before the committee if people wish to contest that.
Oh, boy.
And as alders, there's a very good possibility you guys might be getting phone calls because there are, in routes that it's happened, they're already calling their alders saying, what's going on? We're supposed to have this bulk pickup, but it's next week, not this week. We actually had somebody today, we had a bulk crew, or a brush crew out that noticed a bulk set out. So they called the bulk in, bulk crew showed up to pick it up, and the resident came out and said, don't touch that, it's out for next week.
Oh, my God.
And the ordinance is very clear, no more than 24 hours.
Yeah, your
for
normal
the
pickup
scheduled
day.
pickup.
Yeah.
So-
Nobody reads?
All right.
And the resident was given the opportunity to pull the material back in, or at least bring it to the private side of the sidewalk, and they elected not to do that, so we picked it up and they got a charge.
Holy
When is the yard waste, spring yard waste collection set, do you know?
No, we have not set curbside collection dates yet.
Okay, I see.
I had somebody ask, that's why I was
Yeah.
wondering. Okay, that's okay.
I was asked by somebody 2 weeks ago, so I made my prognostication at that time. My guess is our last plowable snow event will be on April 7th. So I'm not looking forward to spring cleanup anytime earlier than potentially first week of May.
Fair enough.
Okay.
All right, move to receive and place and file, Director's Report.
All right,
Second.
Oh, well, that was, yes? You have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. When I go like that with my voice, where it's like, motion to adjourn, that means it's a question.
Hey, Director Grenier.